was
All
fun.
right, let's do this thing, boys. Let's
Matt's
get
been
it.
recording this
Hey.
entire time.
Yeah, I know. We're sending
Yeah,
it.
I
You ready,
know.
Dapper?
We
Hey,
have
Dapper,
a lot
look
of
at me. Look at me.
B-roll.
Are you ready?
No, I can't look at you. I can't see your cam.
I
Yeah, I
can't
don't
fucking
know.
see you
I
either,
can't
asshole.
see you.
Oh my god.
There you
There
go.
we go. Okay, now I'm looking at you.
Hey,
Let's
hey, look at me.
go.
Fucking look at me. Fucking.
I'm pointing
Hey.
at you, Jibs.
Hey, doing this
There we
thing.
go.
All right. 3,
Maybe.
2.
Maybe.
You got me. You got me. All right. 3, 2. Oh.
Y'all are good. Whenever you want to.
Oh, this shit's here, go.
Hold on.
Jesus.
Ladies. I'm just kidding. That shit's so stupid.
I double dog dare you to start this shit right now. You come on. Come on.
You didn't triple dog dare me, so I'm not doing it.
Oh my god.
I swear to God, ZK. Fucking start the shit.
Okay.
We know
Ladies
you're
and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pood. We've got ourselves a nice little CRL podcast coming up for you here. I'm CNK. I'm joined by Jims and Dapper. Unfortunately, Cash C or Jake not here with us today, but we got Matty Ice producing, so that's the next best thing. Well, he's always here though. So I don't know what I'm talking about.
He's always here to give his input about 100 Thieves and what their horrible roster is going to be for the upcoming
He is
season.
fairly biased when it does come to that. I'm not gonna lie. That's the only thing he talks about.
A little bit, a little bias.
I mean, not as biased as I mean. Oh man, this guy over here.
Yeah.
The only thing he cares about is Atlanta FaZe, and he became a fan of them like a year ago.
Oh my God. Oh.
Am I
Yeah,
wrong?
he doesn't know what competitive COD is. He stinks.
I mean, he didn't. He kind of knows now.
I guess so. He might be on a plat team next season. We'll see. They're going to get dumpstered, but they're going to be on a plat team.
Yeah, but they don't
we're
really
gonna
have
get
a choice.
dumpstered. We're
Props
gonna
to
get
them.
dumpstered.
Props to them at least.
I mean, hey, after you win gold, like what, 3 times? Gotta go up.
Yeah, the fact that you haven't got like pushed up
mixed.
yet.
It was mixed, right?
It was mixed.
Oh, that doesn't
I
count.
let it slide. All right, CNK, what we got going on this week?
We got all kinds of stuff going on, but the biggest one that I care about is people saying Warzone pros could play in the CDL and actually be good. I'll be honest, it's got me a little concerned here, Jims, because as Dapper was talking about earlier, there's literally Warzone pros, some of the best Warzone pros that are ex-CDL players that couldn't make it in the CDL. It's just one thing. But, I mean, we talked about this a little bit. I mean, here's a big thing, right? We're talking about players that are very good at Call of Duty, right? But the CDL is a whole different beast. It's a whole different type of game. It's not Warzone, right? I mean, yeah, sure, you got some guys like everyone keeps bringing up Biffle as far as being a CDL pro and stuff like that. But like, this is a guy that would like go to the CDL and he would probably be able to make it to the CDL. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he can't make it there. I think he can make it to the CDL. I personally just think he'd be like one of those, like, be on like a bottom feeder team, be one of the worst players in the league, but he's in the league. You know, like he made it. Congrats, you know?
I think
Yeah.
someone should pick up a Warzone player just for the story, personally. But
thanks.
really for those players, it's like the juice is just not worth the squeeze in any way, shape, or form. They're going to make
Right.
way more money streaming and building up a consistent brand. That way, I think that there's a lot of Warzone players given the time to get better in challengers over the course of a year can make it, but I don't think it's worth it for them because they won't be able to stream scrims, they won't be playing Warzone, they won't be building up their brand. So what's the point?
So, like you said, a lot of people are like gassing up. It was his name Shifty. Yeah, Shifty.
Yeah.
One of the guys who won the whole World Series Warzone, shebang. In the comments of this post that Matty Ice has up on the screen right now, there's a picture where Shifty was in 8th class. You just scroll down, keep scrolling, right there. Look. I mean,
Shout out Scrap, by the way. That guy's
Yeah, shout out Scrap.
Yeah,
I saw
shout
that
out
picture.
Scrap.
I'm like, how
It's
does those guys
gunning,
let,
bro.
dude, those guys
Like-
let Scrap do that
but,
to
like,
them?
Honestly, like, look at the other team. Like, it's Kismet, Apathy, Slack, Dash. Like, that's not a bunch. Those guys are not slouches at all. One bit.
No,
Like,
not at
Scrap's
all.
put up
No.
54 against these dudes. Like, okay.
He is farming. In that
Also,
picture.
can I say
Anyway.
for the record, like Apathy and Slack, shout out to them. They were good Call of Duty players back in the day. Apathy is like one of the best subs of all time. Slack is one of the players of all time. I'm sorry.
My
That's
God, he was
disrespectful.
great. Shut up.
He was good. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying he's not like a legendary, like top tier player all the time. He was amazing for sure. Like, especially on that LG reign they had for like a year and a half, you know, that roster was a movie for sure. But like, All I'm
Sorry,
saying is like
hold on.
Shifty's not exactly putting up numbers against those boys.
Sorry,
No.
Dapper, we cut you off. What were you going to say about this picture exactly
I'm just
in
saying.
Shifty?
So I mean, yeah, you got two former CDL pros, Kisman and Dashy, as well
No,
on the other team
but
with Envoy and Scrap. But like you have Apathy Slagged who do play a ton of Warzone, and a lot of people consider them like Warzone streamers now. Instead of Slag
yeah,
plays a lot of rank now. But
he
like you
still
got
plays a lot of
Tommy and
Oh,
Shifty on the,
oh,
on
back
the
and
other
forth.
team. Tommy, I mean, when was the last time Tommy was in the league?
Was he
Forever ago. He
was
was a
he in the
coach.
CDL team? No, he was on what team was it at the beginning
I
of the
don't think he was
CDL?
on a
11?
CDL team. He coached London, didn't
Is that
he?
what
He
it
was, he,
was?
w- he was a sub on
Yeah.
Dallas.
Let me see. Let me
Yeah,
look
I
it up
gotta look
real
it up
quick.
too now.
Tommy.
I mean, to be
I
fair,
don't
if
remember.
Tommy's going -11 and you're down there going like -15,
Tommy's a legend
I
though, for the
mean,
record. Like
come on,
actually though.
come on.
Dallas Empire as like the
Yeah, I
coach.
don't see. I see like kickoff tournaments and stuff for Vanguard.
Yeah.
A lot of Warzone. Um, yeah, I think he's really just been in like kickoff tournament stuff. He played in Black Ops 4. He was not a coach, so so he hasn't played since Black Ops 4 really.
Right.
Like there are two completely different sides of COD. You got the casuals and then you got the pros. And then like way off and just like by itself, like way in the corner, you have Warzone, who no one likes, but is there because we have to accept it. You know?
Well, we don't mind them. I mean, come on.
No,
I mean,
no, Warzone's
they're-
fine. I don't have an issue with
yeah,
Warzone.
I will say
Um,
with that argument though, like you got to think that like if Shifty or like Biffle or any of these like really good Warzone pros that everyone's talking about moving to like potentially moving to the CDL, like if all they were doing all day was practicing to be a CDL player and be a comp player with teammates that are comp players, like they're going to get a lot better very quickly, you know?
mhm.
Because you also got to think like these players are going to like require a decent investment, so they're going to go to teams like your Boston's, your Rocker. Well, not Rocker. I guess they don't have any money, but hypothetically, if they still had money, like your Rockers, maybe like a Thieves, because they could maybe spend like a tiny bit more than the average team. Still don't want to spend a ton of money, but like still can spend a little bit more, but also have the branding to like maybe back a player up as far as not giving as much money. You know, like they'd be going to a team that can maybe pay them a little more, but also has better players around them. So they would have a good opportunity to like become something. Like, for example, if one of them went to Rocker, like you'd have accuracy, right? We say it all the time on this podcast. Like, accuracy is going to be an amazing coach when he decides to retire one day, and he'll probably have a better career post playing than he did playing, which is saying something because he actually had a really good career playing. Like, accuracy, like as much as he's had a couple bad years as far as stats is concerned, the guy's had quite the career. like hands
Mhm.
down, you can't really deny that. But like it's kind of one of those things like it for me it depends on what teams they kind of get slotted into. Like if for example, like if Paris for some reason was like, "Oh, we'll pay one of these guys $200,000 a year to come play on our team." Like they're probably screwed. Like
Yeah.
they're probably screwed.
Like I think they have talent that where they could potentially make it onto a CDL roster. Yeah, of course. I mean, everyone like you worked at. I'm
Yeah.
not saying everyone. Some people have the talent,
Well,
but like, so do I think that they can make the switch and immediately get on a roster? Oh, heavens no, 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 no. If
I
they
mean, if
like,
you're
if
saying they're making the switch right now and like say they're signing with it, like say one of these teams that doesn't have a roster yet, like is signing players right now. Like there's a good chance one of these guys could get signed to one of those rosters, and by the time the league actually started in like a couple months here, they could be like CDL ready for sure. I definitely
Mhm.
think so.
I think they should go to challengers and prove themselves first before they even get a shot at a CDL
Yeah.
roster.
I mean, if you're these guys, honestly, low key, you probably like should just start a challengers roster just for like just playing cups and stuff like that, just for fun, right? Don't take it super seriously. Just like prove to people that like you're that guy. Like that eights lobby that you just had a picture up of like a little bit ago, like at the end of the day, like Shifty putting up numbers like that in that eights lobby, like he's gonna put up some big numbers in like challengers. You know, like he will. Like, yeah, he might struggle once he gets into those like top four, top eight matchups when you're talking about like those like actual like what are basically just other pro players and stuff. He might struggle a little bit, you know, but at the end of the day, like he'll run his way through the bracket, especially if he's got a group of guys that are also all like the same skill level as him, which he can definitely pick up from like that Warzone community. The only thing is like their fundamentals when it comes to competitive COD just like won't be there, you know? So that'll be a big issue. And like I'd be really concerned with how that team would play like S&D, for example.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was gonna say
it would
because
be a huge learning curve for Search and Destroy.
Right.
yeah, because Hardpoint is one beast, but S&D is a whole
I
another
mean,
animal.
one of the biggest benefits these guys would have is that control, like with control and like hardpoint, like those two game modes. Like I feel like with the way a lot of these newer games have been, you know, like they could definitely learn them pretty quickly and they could get it figured out. S&D on the other hand, like some of these teams you're playing against, you're talking about like a lot of pro players that are currently in the CDL because of how young the CDL has really become. Like started out as like S&D stars, absolutely world starring like other pro players and stuff, you know? Like I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these like Warzone kids ended up also becoming like a little bit of like S&D stars and stuff over time if they just kind of like got into that community a little bit, but it's just a different ballgame.
I mean, you got to remember the former pros that they're playing against right now are the people that like Simp and Abizi retired, and
Right.
that's why they're playing Warzone. And now there's people in the league that are better than Simp and Abizi.
Right.
So there's a whole lot of
It's
competition
like
that they would have to adapt to and try and be better than. I think a good portion of it personally is just straight gun skill, and I think that they all have that if they're playing on controller. I think a lot of them are playing on mouse and key also. So obviously that wouldn't translate,
well, I think
but I think all of them have a fair
technically
shot
can't
given
you
the
play on mouse
time.
and keys for
I don't think
challengers?
so.
I
I
think you
don't.
can. I know for
I don't know.
Halo you can. I know that's a different
Um,
esport. Don't get me wrong. I understand that, but I think challengers you can as well.
I
I
want to
want to
bring
say
something up real
so.
quick. So I'm reading what's on the screen here. I would need stability to give up what Warzone provides.
Exactly.
Um,
It's
um,
not worth the
uh,
squeeze.
hold on. Wasn't like Warzone like practically dying off at the beginning? And isn't like Warzone 2 like really bad? Or am I
Well,
fading away?
he still. I don't know what Shifty stream numbers look like, but I'm sure he's making a hell of a lot more streaming right now. Even with like, I'm guessing if he's a World Series of Warzone winner and he's that good, he's probably has like 500 to 1,000 subs on Twitch at least, and that's going to make you way more than any challengers team ever could.
Yeah.
And you won't be able to stream scrims. You'd have to scrim for 8 hours and then get off and stream for another 4 to 5 hours just to try and make some money. Like that's a
You'd
hell of a
literally
schedule. Whereas Warzone, you can stream all of that, and that's all income. You only have to put in 8 hours a day in
well,
order to get your money.
you'd be doing basically what like Scump and Nade Shot were doing back in the day, but you also wouldn't be considered to be like a top tier pro like they were. So you weren't getting like any of the
Yeah,
credit like at all. Even if you were like doing good in
there's no
challengers,
streaming
like getting
scrims
top
anymore.
8 week in and week out, like it at the end of the day, like how many CDL fans like we see it all the time and we hate it. We honestly hate it because like look at players like last year from like you look at like your God RXs, you look at Gwyn, you look at I mean, look at Neptune, what he did all season long, like just pure stats wise out of Neptune, but like guys like Gwyn and stuff like that, like it feels like these guys don't get any credit for what they did in challengers whatsoever. Like it doesn't matter that they were consistently placing in those top 8s, top 3s, and a guy like God RX, like you're winning the whole thing, like the whole shebang, you know, and like you're
Mhm.
dominating. Like his performance in that matchup was like crazy. Like for the most part, like people will like probably try to make an argument like, no, I think like a lot of fans and stuff like that like kind of care and like know him. It's like no, they don't. Like straight up, like a lot of people only found out about it after he won and like even then, it was nowhere near like what mid-tier CDL pros is like get as far as like winning a match, as far as
Mhm.
like a Twitter post. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy.
I think it's
And
Um,
you're asking like top tier Warzone pros that like legitimately can bring in a very big audience. Like we all remember what Warzone was like at the peak. Like dudes who had like 500 viewers had like 4K subs. Like it was nuts. There was also dudes who had like there was dudes that were like what's his name Mutex, right? Who had like 5K viewers and stuff like that and was running like 20K subs and all that, like at the peak of
Mhm.
Warzone. Like, I'm not saying you can do that now, but like these Warzone streamers legitimately, if they're talented, like are really talented and are somewhat like just a little bit like fun to like watch and stuff like that, like actually get good viewership and good subs. And
the,
if you're gonna play in the CDL, unless you're getting a big contract, it is not worth it for them to even attempt to switch over.
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm trying to find what his stream numbers look like. His VODs are sub only, so I can't figure it out. But
But
No doubt. So let's see. So this is from August 5th. He got 182 subs in a single day. So clearly he's doing really, really good on Warzone for himself. And switching over to Call of Duty would just be a downgrade for him.
so I was gonna say something because that is a perfect segue into what I wanted to bring up. I'm trying to find it. Real quick. Okay, so I know a lot of people say how when Warzone came out and how successful it got during Warzone 1, it really took the developers' focus away from multiplayer and kind of ruined multiplayer in a sense. Like, you guys kind of agree with that?
Well, I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't say that. I would just say that Warzone shaped the way that multiplayer is because they didn't want to make two different games.
Okay. Now,
Yes, so I
this
guess
is
yes, kinda.
this is what I'm gonna bring up next. Activision, they bring out a like little report saying how successful the event for Warzone was, and they released some numbers about it. Anyways, according to CDL Intel, World Series of Warzone Global Finals peaked at 378,316 viewers, while the peak for the CDL was Major 3 at 335,170 people. Now, if they see this and be like, man, okay, Warzone's like, you know, esports events are really popping off. What happens if you keep doing this and focus this? I'm worried that they're going to try to push this so much because they saw how successful the first event was and take their focus away from CDL. But my biggest thing is CDL has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 events the entire year. There's more events. Well, Warzone had this is what the first LAN event of this scale ever. So yes, this was something.
Yeah,
There's
no,
been
'cause
another World Series of War. This is the
right.
second one.
Yeah. It
What
was
was it, a LAN
like
event?
exact same style, yeah.
Yeah, the
Okay.
first one. Yeah, it's the exact same
This
style as the
this is
first
like this isn't the first, like they've had a couple big LAN events where they had like over 100 people there.
Well, so
one.
they don't do this stuff like as often as like CDO has
Right.
majors and
No,
stuff like that.
and my counterpoint to you would be that that's why this got way more viewership because it's
Yeah,
so hyped
that's
up.
that's what I, that's what I was gonna say.
One year thing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like if Warzone would have so many events like the CDO does, then the viewership numbers will eventually even out. Because like if you look at Halo, Halo's a special case because Halo was a really bad game on launch. But like the first two events had crazy numbers, and now their events today are getting like 70, 80,000 viewers.
Ah,
Like,
ugh.
well, with
We're not getting that at
scumps, watch
Yeah,
parties,
there's
and events and
always
whatnot.
going to be hype, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
There's always
what
going to be hype. It ebbs and flows as the season goes on. World Series of Warzone, yeah, it's a once a year thing. I don't even know when the last one was. Was it a year ago? I think it was even longer than that. So a lot of them have been waiting for this opportunity. A lot of people have been hyped up for it. So
And
I
you had
don't
all
think
these
that
CDL
viewership. I
guys
don't
were
think that
hyping it up
viewership
as
number
well.
is the. Yeah, I don't think that viewership number is the end all be all like reason why they might push Warzone more. Like it's a once a year event. We're in the competitive Call of Duty off season. Everybody's looking for something to watch. Like, of course, it's going to have a lot of viewership.
Yeah.
my
And
big
like,
thing
but
though.
like guys
Still
like,
Warzone.
but also like guys like Zuma, Scump, Methods, like all those guys were also desperate because it's the off season and they were also pushing
Yeah,
it because they were like,
Mhm.
oh wait, we actually have COD to watch. Like it's not the COD they want to watch, but it's something. Like it's something. And a lot of CDL fans and stuff like that are probably the same.
I hope like if they try to push for like Warzone to be successful esports wise, I hope they kind of join it with like as far as like marketing and advertising with the CDL
Yeah.
to promote both of them to a larger scale audience.
I mean,
Like
I've always
maybe
said
show
it.
them like maybe show the CDL to
they're both just
Warzone
marketing tools.
audience,
That's all they are.
Yeah,
Both of them are marketing tools. Like the CDL wasn't made because they were interested in making sure esports existed in 10 years. Like esports, the whole CDL was created because then Activision has total control over the marketing branch that is competitive COD, like 100% control over it. And like Warzone, they also, because they created the CDL and they have all, like they made it so they basically have the rights, but they split the rights up between 12 other people. to like hosting every single tournament, like legally speaking, right? They now have 100% control over any event that's hosted in Call of Duty ever. And they have a 12 ownership groups that can back them saying, no, they're not a monopoly because we can also host our own events. And like, it's kind of insane. But that's why there hasn't been very many Warzone events, is because Activision is the only one that can legally host a Warzone event.
I've always hoped that there would be an offshoot Warzone league that would utilize the organizations that are within the Call of Duty League. Right now, that wouldn't happen because everyone's so financially strapped. But I had always hoped that that would be a thing because I feel like it'd be really really successful. Even though I still don't really think BRs are super competitive, but it brings hype and people love to watch it. So
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's hopefully they use Warzone for good and not try to take away what we love so much.
I think the biggest thing that Warzone could take away is the fact that they don't want to make two entirely separate games, and then they do what they did with uh what was it, I don't know, MW19 pretty much, where it's all the movement mechanics of Warzone are in MW19, and it doesn't really make for a great multiplayer experience. They don't want to make two separate games, so they just port everything over.
Yeah, exit.
That's my main concern,
Shout
but
out Treyarch.
I think an offshoot Warzone league would not be a bad idea at all.
Yeah.
I think the Warzone guys would watch the CDL guys, and the CDL guys would watch the Warzone guys, and there'd be a happy medium somewhere in
Or
there.
what about CEL teams? Get Warzone rosters.
Well, that's what I had just mentioned too, but I was hoping that would happen sooner rather than now, because now all the teams are financially strapped and they'd be paying,
Right.
Warzone players. A lot of them have really big followings, so like if you want to sign a guy like Biffle, it's going to cost you like 200K a year probably, and no one wants to pay that right now.
Or can pay that, not to a
Yeah,
non-player. Like there's even the teams that are rich, like quote unquote rich, like have money, right? Just have a little bit of
yeah,
money, or are willing to spend money. They don't have excess money in their budget to have like a Warzone player on their team. Like
Yeah.
mhm,
it's a miracle there's even academy teams anymore in the league, to be honest.
yeah,
Like that was I think the one big thing before they start investing into things like Warzone and stuff like that is like these teams need to have academy teams, but they can't even afford that. They won't be able to afford that for a very long time. Right
yeah,
now, the CDL's in a situation where like we're probably on the edge of like four different orgs like basically not existing in the CDL next year if a lot of things
yeah.
don't change.
And we're still waiting to see on who's going to make what changes. There's still the rumor of Seattle moving back up to Canada,
Mhm.
Vancouver to
Vancouver.
align with their Overwatch League team.
Yep.
Ravens made their move to North Carolina to Charlotte.
The
I
Charlotte Royal
The
Ravens.
Charlotte Royal Ravens.
I'm 100% positive that name is going to change next year. Like what it
I
has to.
really, really, really hope so. I
Well,
really hope it does change, but I do love the colors. I do love the
yeah.
new
Well,
colors.
I hope they keep all that. It's just like the name is definitely going to change. And like I will imagine if there ever is like at this point in time I don't know if the league is going to exist in 5 years, but if there ever is a expansion, I'm just hoping that's like mainly EU teams at this point.
Mhm.
Like we bring back a
Yeah.
London, a Paris, like a Spanish team would be awesome, like a Barcelona or something like that would be
Look, I
epic.
thought we were getting a Spanish team with Koi, right?
Right. Well,
What happened there?
so I think I think the thing is with that though, like that whole situation, not just with Koi, but like with Heretics,
What
right?
happened?
Like
Yeah,
I don't think anyone wants to like do international whatsoever. Like it seems like everyone's trying to just be in the US, obviously, like everyone's here except for one team
yeah.
being in Canada. Like they're just trying to make sure that
Too
events are
complicated.
they want to have the least amount of spending they can possibly have. And like if you have a team, like if you have an organization based out of London or wherever, right? Like you're
Yeah,
gonna at the end of the day, you're gonna have issues, right? Like
makes it way too complicated
yeah.
when everybody else is in the
And
US. You don't want two base of operation too.
the only thing I'm worried about though is like I think we're gonna lose a lot of our EU players. Like I
Mhm.
generally think that, which sucks, but like I think these teams have found how much it is of a headache to deal with the visas and everything like that, and they just don't want to deal with it. They don't want to spend the extra money, even though it's like we're talking like $2,000 to get the whole visa process done and dusted when it comes to like lawyer fees and everything. That's just what we've heard from like certain people, right? What was it the
Yeah.
Owl Bob or whatever was saying it was like 2 to 5,000 or something like that, like US dollars, or it might have been like pounds or whatever. But like I don't know. It's just kind of one of those things where these teams just like they don't want to deal with it. Like they want to be able to just like get their minimum player for their $53,700 or whatever it is, and just have them on their team and go
Depending on
compete at an
the team,
event,
yeah.
pay for the cheapest flights they can, 2 hotel rooms, get that done and dusted, make sure they get home. Hey, you figure out your own housing and stuff like that. We're paying you
Mhm.
$53,700. You should be able to live somewhere, right? Like figure it out, you
Yeah.
know? Like, that's what these teams like some of these teams legitimately have to do. Like they have to do that. Like LAG, for example, like I mean, we're talking about a team that like completely dismantled last year that nobody expected. Like of all the CDL teams that people would have expected to just out of nowhere completely disinvest out of esports, like
Flag,
LAG
yeah.
and the Guard is definitely not anywhere near that list of people. They're not even
Mhm.
close. We're talking about a
Seems like
team that is
they just had money on
well,
money on money on money.
like to this day, it's still the wealthiest owner in the CDL. It has to be. You're
Terrible
talking about
GM,
it.
I
th-
guess.
They own like what the Gronky Sports Group. They own a football team. They own not
Mhm.
just a football team. They own the Rams. Like they own their own stadium. Like it's great. Like that's a $6 billion stadium project they built. They own that. Like
Mhm.
they own what? They own the Nuggets, right? Like they own a basketball team. They have a hockey team, right? Is it the Colorado team or something like that?
I'm
And
not
then they have
sure.
one other. They have a like they have a soccer team as well. It's like Arsenal. No, it's not Arsenal, but it's like something like it's a massive soccer team as well. Like sorry, football. But I'm sorry. But like you're talking about a group like we're talking like Stan Kroenke though, like is literally worth billions and billions and billions and billions and billions, like with like massive B's at the end of that, right? Like it's
Mhm.
insane. And he just like for some like
Massive.
and the decision to disinvest from esports was probably his decision. Like the amount of money they were spending for no return whatsoever, he probably just like, nah, we're good. Cause like football, the return is insane. Basketball, the return is insane. Hockey, not so great, but there's still like a return, right? You know what I mean? But like the sports he's involved in, there's a return. Like there's a direct return. He can make them profitable in a matter of 6 months if he wanted to. Like the football team, he probably doesn't make a lot of money, but if he wanted to make it profitable, he could make the Rams like he could profit $50+ million from the Rams just by snapping his fingers and firing a few employees. Like
Mhm.
legitimately, he could do that. With esports, on the other hand, there was nothing he could have done that would have made LAG or the Guard profitable in any way. There was no chance of that.
Yeah. It's still though you invested into it banking on the fact that it would turn into something
Yeah.
really, really big, and that's kind of what they're
Like,
investing into it compared to their entire portfolio. It's just kind of pennies
the
to
thing is about
what
that
they
though,
actually invest.
the
So like
scariest part about that is it kind of lets you think like maybe they know something we don't about like what's about to happen. You know,
eventually
like there's that, or just like
they just need to get a
maybe
better
they
GM, dude. With
expected
the
to
amount of
see
money they had, they just need to get a better team. They had
for
clearly a
real.
terrible GM and management strategy to get the players and have the
And the
results
money
that they
they were
did.
spending. I mean, the amount of money they gave Aches of all
Dude, they
people was
signed Aches and
crazy,
Assault to like 400K a year, whatever, like a stupid amount of money.
bro.
When they
We're
had
talking
they proved nothing in Black Ops 4, and then they signed him to whatever insane contract that was.
dude. Just imagine if that team had like
Bad.
like an actual like someone who's been involved in this Call of Duty scene for a long time, like a John Bobble. Go get Bobble over there. Um,
Hmm.
But,
I
but,
love
Well,
Bobble.
but they won World War
I
II
mean,
champ.
he's Seattle's GM right now, so
Is he? I thought he got fired.
uh,
Is he still over
maybe.
there?
I'm pretty
I hope
sure
he's
he's
still
still
there.
there.
I love
I'm pretty
Bobble,
sure
dude.
he's still there.
But that's just like what I'm saying is like that's an example of like someone like if they would have somehow managed to get him like right away, week one of CDL becoming a thing, they invest into it and they got our boy Bobble and they just like go from there, you know?
He left. His contract ran out at the end of the season.
I wonder if he'll get picked up. I mean, the problem that he has though is that Optic kind of like ran him through the dirt a little bit. A little bit.
Yeah.
So they have that whole negotiation issue with the whole Pred thing, which we like 100%. Like we all know that's not his fault. I think everyone in the community and stuff like that knows it's not his fault. But like, I mean, when it comes to like professional businesses and stuff, especially sports wise, like like the ownership group is just going to do one thing and one thing only. They're going to blame him because that's literally
Mhm.
like that's why they hired him. They hired him to be the guy they can blame for everything. Like
Yeah.
that's the whole point of having a GM is someone you can blame for when everything goes wrong. Like fun stuff. It's this whole like going back to the whole like Warzone CDL thing is like if it would have like if Warzone would have existed and been like as popular as it like was and kind of is right now at the actual beginning of the CDL, I could see Warzone players being picked up for sure and getting
Mhm.
thrown the bag just to bring less of to like bring a talented player to a team and more of just to bring the hype and a fan base to the team. You know, like a team like at the beginning of CDL, like a team like Seattle, for example. Remember the roster they went out and got they were trying to be the best roster of all time in the history of Call of Duty. It's got a couple guys towards the end towards the end there, but like that would be a roster I would have fully expected to be like, yo, let's pick up Biffle. Let's see if we can bring some of his fan base over here.
Mhm. And Clayster had mentioned, or he tweeted out shortly after the World Series of Warzone happened that I guess there were talks to bring on a professional Warzone player to Legion, like to play under Clayster. But Clayster didn't remember who. I guess he said he thought it was Shifty, and Shifty denied it, so he wasn't sure who exactly it was.
I wonder. Um,
I have no idea who. I don't remember any rumors about a Warzone player
no, I don't either.
trying to get picked up or legitimately having a chance at getting picked up, I should say.
Well, my guess is it was basically one of those conversations where like someone at if it was Paris, or Vegas or whatever, if it was them, it was probably just them reaching out to someone being like, hey, you want to join our team? We'll give you 50 grand. Like
Mm.
something like that. They just said no. And that was like it.
Mhm.
Who knows? It's just kind of like I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where I think there will be a point in time if the CDL remains to be a thing in a couple of years that will be a thing. Like there will be like Warzone pros if Warzone maintains to be steady, like gets the competitive scene going, that switch over to CDL
Mhm.
or try to do both. Right? There's going to be guys who try to do both for sure. We'll see that.
They could, as long as contracts allow it, they definitely could.
Yeah. Well, I imagine because of the competitive scene and all being owned by Activision, stuff like that, like Activision is going to want that. 'Cause, like we were talking about earlier, marketing for both sides. Like at this point in time, like Warzone and Call of Duty really are two like different games, like the way they play and everything like that. And it's two different, completely different fan bases. So it's like, which sounds crazy because it's Call of Duty Warzone and Call of Duty multiplayer, but like it is two different fan bases. So
Mhm.
like there is definitely kind of like going back to what Dapper said earlier, like there is an incentive to try to like merge the two competitively as far as marketing is concerned and stuff. But like it just feels like because of the way Activision has been forever, even now that they're owned by Microsoft, but like it's gonna be what 2 years before Microsoft gets their hands on anything, especially like unless they decide for some reason they care about competitive and they want to like get their hands on it right away, which they could do, but I doubt it. I doubt they
Yeah.
care about that of all things. They care about one thing and one thing only. They brought it in to be profitable, right? Like as
Yeah.
far as their gaming sector, they wanted to make their gaming part of their company make
Mhm.
money by the
Yeah.
company that makes the most money. So it's just kind of like one of those things where we'll just have to see. Like the future of the CDL and the future of Warzone competitive and the future of Warzone and the future of
Right.
Call of Duty is in the hands of like
Man.
a completely unknown entity now. Like
Mhm.
we have no idea what's going to happen.
Very, very curious to see how these next few months are going to shape up. I want to see what those bottom four teams look like. I want to see if teams are going to relocate. I want to see if the CDL is going to start canceling payments to organizations, and who
If they
knows.
started doing that, I think we would see definitely a resurgence from these orgs, right? Because
I agree.
if these orgs didn't have
Hope
to like
so.
say they've paid $11 million so far, whatever the number is, right? 10, like we'll just say it's $10 million. Say each team has paid 10 million, even though we know because of the Overwatch situation that some teams have paid way more because some teams have already paid the full thing and some teams haven't, right? So like in some of these CDL teams probably have paid more than others, right? Or maybe they have the plan set up completely different where everyone's paid the exact same every year, whatever. Whatever it is, right? Who cares? Let's just say hypothetically it's all $10 million each. Like and they just cut the last 15 million off, all of these teams would be able to make that work now. Like, imagine a team like Optic now doesn't have the franchise payment to worry about. You're telling me that team can't find a way to make money? Like, I would like
Oh,
to say a phase, but
Optic's
like that's
already
Atlanta
making money.
sports. What's that?
Did you say Optic or Atlanta?
Optic
Yeah, Optic's already making money. They don't care.
with the franchise payment.
They're
I'm
doing
saying,
fine.
like, I feel
Yeah.
like they're losing money on their CDL roster. I do. Like the
Oh,
amount of money they're spending on the CDL roster, like, is insane.
Yeah.
It's pretty nuts.
bring it in, man. They're bringing
I
in the money.
I understand they're bringing in money, and they're like arguably the only team in esports that seems to understand how to make money in esports, which is crazy to me because it's been around for so long. Like for some reason, still all these teams think the easiest route to making money is just winning, even though we know that has been proven not to work over and over and over and over and over and over and over. Like honestly, the
Mhm.
best thing you can do is just be a good team every single year. Kind of like if you look at like football, you want to be like a Dallas Cowboys, you want to be a Green Bay Packers, you want to be like one of these teams that's good every single year, has a shot to make playoffs every year, maybe makes playoffs every year, has a fun team to watch. It's a fun like brand of football or fun Call of Duty to watch. Like you look at Optic, like Shotzi's fun to watch, Dashy's fun to watch. Like it's fun. It's fun Call of Duty. Now they've got Pred. He's going to be fun to watch. You look at like Phase, for example. That's also like can be a fun form of COD to watch sometimes. Sometimes they're really boring, but like, you know what I mean? Like you want to be a fun version of the game to watch so people want to watch you day in and day out because it's awesome to watch. But then also you need to market that fan base that you're then bringing in, which I think obviously does a good job with their content side of things. And now they started like Optic Nation and stuff like that. So they also bringing money in from not just sponsors and stuff like that, but people are also paying actual cash to watch content, which I don't know how popular that is or anything, but I imagine it's fairly decent because they keep, I don't know, they're making more and more content for it. So like you wouldn't invest into it if it's not making anything in theory.
Yeah.
So like I would imagine
I
it's doing well,
just
and the Optic fan base is pretty loyal. So, but
I just have one thing to say about that.
would that be dope?
No one willingly wants to play for the Dallas Cowboys. Like, come on, be real now.
I don't know, man. Micah Parsons loves it. I honestly, if you're going to be a football player, the best team you can play for is the Dallas Cowboys. Look how many people in media are like ex Dallas Cowboys players. Like real talk though. Like that's the best team to play for.
No one wants to play for the Cowgirls.
Dude, hey, I'm not a fan. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan. But when it comes to the business side of things, like Optic and the Dallas Cowboys have something very much so in common. They know how to market their fan bases very
That is
well.
true.
Like
Well,
Jerry
Fan base
Jones
for
makes
players.
more in a
Yep.
home game. Like Jerry Jones makes more in one home game than most other NFL teams make an entire season from their local markets. That is crazy. That should
I
not
will
be a thing.
say
That is absolutely criminal. That
the
should
only
not be
thing,
a thing.
the only thing I can think about whenever I watch a Cowboys game when they're playing from home, you know how like when they come back from commercial break or they go to commercial break, do the flyover to stadium.
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm like, oh, that's where I was staying there at the Vanguard kickoff.
What the oh my
Because
My little
during that,
neighborhood.
yeah, it was like right like across the street from the stadium.
yeah. It's just like here's the thing. Of all these like teams though that we know can like make money, we know for a fact Optic can do it because they almost did it when Huntsman was a thing, right? With just Hunt, but they weren't even Optic anymore, right? Like with Huntsman, they almost made a profit, and that was with like worrying about all the salaries, everything, and figuring out how to like rebrand, make a whole new everything from the ground up. Obviously, they had a big advantage. They brought the guys, they brought Formal with them, Gump with them. They had a bunch of the content guys still, and they had Hex, right? And like Hitch and like these guys that like people love. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So they weren't rebuilding from scratch. They were rebuilding with the exact same fan base they left off with. You know what I mean? Like it's the same, but still, like, and like there's teams like Phase, for example. Like I understand it's like Atlanta Sports Group or Sports Ventures, whatever it is, but like if FaZe actually still was like FaZe, like from back in the day, imagine how popular that Atlanta FaZe roster would be. It would be crazy. It'd be
yeah,
just like the Optic roster. The viewership for CDL would be way higher. Every time FaZe and Optic would play each other, it would get even higher than it already does, which is already like it puts up numbies, dude. That those matches put up numbies. But also shout out to like Thieves. There's two teams in the entire league that do a good job marketing their teams. I kind of forgot about Thieves, but Thieves is the other one outside of Optic. Like they do a great job marketing their teams. They do great content around it, and they plan on doing more. and they're going to probably do better content and everything, right? That's a team that, like, I mean, hey, like Nade Shot's running his org over there, very similar to how Optic was run, because I mean the guy came from Optic, right? I mean,
Mhm.
big shocker, right? Oh, but also like it feels like they're like the only two people that seem to understand like how to like actually play the game that is the industry of esports. Everyone's trying to do this whole like VC thing because like these VCs came in out of nowhere, right? And they were just like, here's an insane amount of money. And they just kept going, here's money, here's money, here's money, here's money. But now that that's drying up and it's like gone, the only teams that are really like notable anymore as far as like popularity and stuff like that, in my opinion, and will be around long term forever are like your Thieves, your Optics. I guess there's a couple other teams, like obviously like TSM and Cloud9, but there's just like staples. Like, yeah, they took a lot of VC money and they're still taking a lot of VC money, but like those are teams that like it can go get those like big name sponsorships because of League of Legends, which League of Legends is like a whole different ball game though when it comes to esports. That's like as close to
Yeah.
traditional sports as esports will probably get, like ever. Like as far as bringing in like big name sponsors and stuff. I don't know, I just kind of went on a random rambling tangent there. I don't even know. I did. That's what
Bit
happened.
of a tangent, just a little.
Yeah, I know.
A little bit of a financial tangent.
It's just it
Just a
sucks,
wee
man.
bit.
It sucks to see teams like Rocker, for example. Like we see them, they were doing really well as far as like they were willing to invest a lot of money. They had really good backing as far as like rich ownership and stuff like that. They were willing to invest. They were investing in not just their team, they were investing into the community, right? They were trying their best to kind of like create an experience for fans that was somewhat similar to like what Optic could provide and stuff like that. They just they didn't have the content team to really make it happen, and they weren't doing the right kind of content for esports, right? They were doing that like traditional media, like football and basketball type documentary, and like they were doing occasional like trivia and stuff like that, you know. But they needed to like, I don't know. I don't want to really get into that because obviously they were doing like podcasts and stuff like that too. But they're like they needed to try a little bit harder when it came to the content game. But I think the problem was now we know like they cared and they wanted to invest a lot of money and stuff like that, but like there were certain areas like content probably where like they didn't exactly have the biggest budget, you know, because they couldn't.
Mhm.
And now that team is basically gone. Like that sucks. Hey, we got Boston though.
Yeah.
They're investing money. Shout out Robert Kraft.
Shout out Doug Spencer Martin.
Dougie?
Actually, shout out Dougie C, man.
Dougie C.
If he's the reason why Boston's popular, then I'm a Dougie C fan.
He's one of the reasons.
Yeah, he is. Honestly, I
He's
think that
one
was
of
a
the
good
top.
move out of Boston to like just like have Dougie C be their guy, you know? Because Doug Spencer Martin, as much as a lot of guys like hate on him and stuff, like he's very brand friendly. He's like very brand friendly.
Yeah, if you don't think he's an
Um,
absolute lunatic sometimes.
yeah, but like I don't know. I look at like Doug Spencer Martin and I see like those like you what you see in like football players. Like look at how many D1 like football athletes or baseball, basketball, any sport, even like other challenger like kids in like Call of Duty or other esports. Like you got to think you're the guy, right?
Hmm.
Like all these guys, like I saw like Crim Six basically like did a massive post talking about that, and the first thing I thought of was like all these football players that like legitimately have to believe they're the best to ever do it. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you're already chalked. Like if you're a D1 athlete and you don't believe you're one of the best at your position and you're like in the sport at the at given time, you're already chalked. Like good luck making it to the league. Good luck making any money off of your favorite thing you've done in your entire life. You know what I mean? Like it's chalked. Like it's sorry. I'm sorry, but it's chalked. If you don't believe in yourself, then people aren't also going to believe in you because you're unintentionally not going to put up 100% effort, which sucks, but that's just how it
This
is, right? It's the same
That's a
thing with
great point.
challengers and CDL and stuff like that. Like you have to believe you're the guy. I get that like Doug Spencer Martins is like to a whole different level to where it's like crazy because he says he can like world star some of the best players in the entire world when he like definitely can't, but
I
that's how you
wanna
got to
I
be.
wanna expand on that point. This goes for like CRL people too, like who stream their games and whatnot, and people who go into their streams and get mad about what they say. You gotta understand something, right? I do it too. I do it to people I know, and I play against them. The people I'm friends with. Like this past week, I just played a CRL match in Cold War against Creature. We're boys of Creature. Like Creature's gonna be our teammate going MW3 or Plat. Great guy, love
Oh,
him.
creature, good
But
dude.
when you go into these matches, like with what Sensor was saying, like you gotta have that mindset, right? So I mean, I can't really say what we say on stream here because no bad words. But you're gonna be like, oh, we're gonna we're gonna freaking 3-0 these kids. These kids suck. These kids are poop. You know, like stuff like that. That's stuff you say to get your mindset going. Like, oh, like I'm about to walk over these kids. Like these kids are trash. Like these kids are not beating us. About 3-0 them. About DoorDash challenge them. You say stuff like that. To hype yourself up. Then you play better. Because if you go in there and be like, yeah, these guys are really good. I don't know if we're gonna beat them. I mean, we're probably gonna get smoked here. You think like that, you're gonna get smoked. I mean, you go in with a negative mindset, you're gonna have negative results. Going with a positive mindset, you're gonna have positive results sometimes. To like realistic stance. So I'm not going out there to like start saying some wild and stuff. I mean, say some stuff that's like to a reasonable level. Like people can't be mad like saying like, "Oh, he called me trash. He said he's gonna walk all over us and just absolutely dominate us." I'm like, well, yeah, he's probably saying that to hype himself up. Like, series hasn't even started yet.
Hey, man.
Chill.
Maybe just chill in the rec league. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean,
Like, I get it in like actual sports and stuff where you're like, you're trying to
I
get
mean,
out there and make some money or make a career for yourself.
it's
But
more
like,
prominent like in esports.
yeah, I
Especially when
mean,
it's like higher tier players. I'm not calling myself higher.
I
Point that
definitely
out.
expect it in like challengers for that. Don't get me wrong. I fully expect that. But like, the CRL, you know, it's
I
fine.
know. I'm just saying people gotta get into that mindset to hype
Hey, I
themselves
don't
up.
disagree.
Hype
I don't
themselves up.
disagree.
I'm saying this is what people say to themselves. They're not saying intentionally or with ill will.
I
You
say it
can say it
intentionally
to
with ill
yourself
will.
all you want, but if you suck, you suck. You got to give it up at some point. But he's making a stat. Dougie C's getting his salary, so he can think it all he wants, man.
I mean, at the end of the day, the guy's making money to play COD, right? Like,
I
Yeah.
realized I suck. That's why I'm in a rec league now.
hey,
Wait, hold on.
at the end
What's
of the
your
day, like, you probably shouldn't be investing 40 hours a week or anything like that if you're not like, if you're not gonna have a chance
gyms?
Yeah,
at
I did, and
making
then
it.
I went to 2 lands and went 0-4. I said, okay, well, I'm doing this to travel now.
Gyms?
Yeah.
I'm not doing it to compete.
You want to share your Discord bio?
What? Can't choose trace and now I own a rec league? Yeah, it's my Twitter bio too. Twitter bio too. Been that way for a while. I know my place. And I love when people come into the server and say 1v1 me, bro, when I don't give them a favorable answer. Like, yeah, I would lose. I know. That's why I'm here.
We should really just have like someone on the mod team
Bro,
1v1.
you suck. You've never won any money. You can't do
We
anything at
just
land. Yeah, I know.
we
That's
just
why I'm
line
here.
we just line up Zenny and Jake out there to go 2v2 versus them.
Yeah, I'd go send out the
Uh,
minions. Go sick
yeah.
'em, boys.
Matty Ice
I'm
out there
sick of
too.
Sick 'em,
Some
boys.
3v3s going.
Yep.
That'd be hilarious. Yeah. Shout out to CDL, man. I'm excited for it to be coming back, man. I need it back
me
so bad.
too. Oh,
I can't wait to watch the new
hold
Optic
up.
roster. Hey, I want to see if the New York roster is better or worse with Sib. Honestly,
I got some big news to share too about the
Oh,
CDL
what do
season.
you got?
Atlanta
What about it?
kickoff
oh.
event.
The first, yeah. There's allegedly a kickoff tournament that's gonna be held at DreamHack Atlanta
I'm
in
sad it's a
December.
kickoff event, but
In December.
man, at
So
least we're
far
getting an
away.
event. At least we're
I'm
getting an event.
not. I'm not gonna let the hype get to me this time. I'm not going. I'm going to save my
No.
money for an actual major.
No.
I still regret. I still regret going to the Vanguard kickoff instead of Major One.
Dallas was nice. Come on.
Yeah, but
I
like,
would have
They were both in
much,
Dallas.
much more preferred to go to Major One over the
what was
kickoff.
I
Major
mean,
One
yeah,
that
but
year?
you
What
get
was
the
Major
you
One?
get the
2020.
vibe of me, Matt, and
We would have gone to Major
Nate.
One if they went to Major
You're
One.
not. You're not selling yourself right now. You're not selling yourself right now. I would have much rather have gone to Major
I don't
One.
know. I enjoyed that event from home.
We got to
Would have
witness.
too.
No, we got to witness one of the most popular photos that circulated Twitter that season in
Taking right in
person,
front of us.
right in front of us. RC's flipped off that one dude in the crowd.
Dude,
Remember that?
I hope
Yeah,
RC's
the guy
career
was
gets
being
back
an
on track
a-hole.
this year. Can I just say that? I want that guy to be good again. He's had a rough
I've
couple
kind of been
years.
watching his streams while I've been playing some New World. He's been doing a lot of chows. He's winning some money.
There was a lot of drama about that not that long ago.
What happened?
All the drama between like RCs and all those guys he was doing chows with and stuff about people not paying each other and all that. It was crazy. It was just chaos.
Yeah,
There was like dudes who were like racking up like $3,000 bills against people challenging them. It's like, why are you still challenging this guy? Like he hasn't paid you in months and you're still like, yeah, sure, let's run a 50. You're like, what are we doing? Like
I
he's
saw.
never gonna pay you. Like that guy's never gonna pay you. And then there was dudes setting up like payment plans. Like there was a guy who tweeted out like he tweeted a list of like 30 people that owed him money from doing chows, like S&D chows and like a bunch of other like stuff. And he basically like at the end of it, there was like one guy who owed him like 2 grand, and he was like, "This guy's cool. Like, I'm not gonna post X person's name. Like, he didn't put the actual name. He was like, I'm not gonna post this person's name unless they stop the payment plan we set up together. But I set up a payment plan with him for him to like pay me off over time. And it's like, we got S&D kids doing like payment plans to pay each other off. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, what are we doing?
That's
Like
why you gotta do it on
this guy's got
CMG,
a
man.
7-year loan on his S&D
No,
chows.
they do it to avoid the fees on CMG, but like that's why the fees are there to make sure you have a secure payment and it actually gets
Oh,
done.
man. It's just so
Now
dumb.
now people are going to debt for S&D chows because they keep losing.
It's just so stupid, bro. It's
That is
so
stupid.
dumb. The thing I don't get, like, here's the thing. Like, I get you play somebody and then they don't pay you, right? And you're like, damn, that sucks. Like sometimes people are just gonna scumbag like that. Like they're like people cheat in Call of Duty. It's the same thing, right? Like they're gonna
That way.
scumbag, right? But why
Yeah.
play them again? Like they go, don't worry, I got you next time I get paid.
See,
Like
you
you
gotta
play them like
understand.
3 times, they don't pay you 3 times. You beat them 3 times, right? Maybe they beat you one time. You pay them like $20. No, you don't even pay them. You just like subtract it from the amount they owe you, right? You're like, hey man, like, and they get mad at you, like, why didn't you pay me? It's like, brother, you still owe me like $80, or you owe me like $200. Like, how about you pay me and then we'll worry about it? You know, it's like, oh man, it's dumb. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
I don't think it is. It honestly, like I get that the community that's doing like S&D chows and stuff like that is probably significantly smaller than it used to be. But like, I mean, as soon as someone's not paying you, that dude's on the blacklist. If someone doesn't pay me like 2-3 times, that guy's on Twitter. I'm like,
Yep.
hey, don't play this dude. Like, he's not paying.
Hey,
Like, that's
dude, he's
it.
a
That's
jerk.
done. Not dealing
Hey,
with
dude,
it.
big jerk.
Somebody's gonna
Big jerk.
DM me and be like, "Is this guy actually not pay you?" Like, yeah, he does. Yeah, he doesn't pay me. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, just don't play against him. That guy's chalked. Then it's just dumb.
I knew
So
there was.
anyways,
I knew there were some
oh,
creatures whenever. I knew there were some creatures when I saw people accusing RCs of not trying in those.
Oh yeah.
There were people.
dude, did you see people got mad at RCDs for like not paying a kid or whatever?
No,
Like,
what I saw was they were accusing him of not trying when they were playing
right?
wagers, and it's like everybody was calling him. It was
Yeah.
stupid.
I saw that as well, and that's like when like a bunch of guys like Zoom and them were like coming out and be like, "Come on, we gotta show respect to a guy that's like a 2 times world champion, like one of the better Call of Duty players you've seen. Like you win that many like 2 world championships, like that's crazy, like it's good stuff."
There
But
was a
like there was a thing where like I guess he didn't pay someone like like basically like he played somebody, lost that night, didn't pay him that night because he like went to bed, woke up to like on Twitter that kid was like spamming him like pay me, pay me, pay me, and it became like a little bit of drama for like a day or something like that. It was hilarious
yeah. See,
'cause he paid him, like he ended up
not
paying
Yeah,
him.
patient.
that kid is probably
Anyways,
begging because he had debts to pay off.
Yeah,
yeah, like
probably. He's that
so
2K payment plan kid.
I know RC's was in a chow like Draza a day or two ago on Cold War, and this kid was obviously trying to stack his team. He's like, the only way I'm playing this chow is if I'm on a team with RC's and Draza. And Draza's like, yeah, those teams aren't happening, and RC's is kind of on the same board too. This is like two CDO pros versus like a bunch of like S&D kids and whatnot. And the kid started like going off on RC. He's like, "Oh, you don't know what it's like. Like, I need the money. Like, he's like, I'm from the hood. You don't know what it's like." And RC's went off on this guy and straight up like kicked him, banned him from their team speak, stopped the child and everything. I was like, hmm.
I mean, they grew up with no money, didn't they? Like, I'm pretty sure they grew up
Yeah,
pretty poor, didn't they? Like,
yeah. I remember I can't. I know it was during MW19. There was a video that was like it was like the story of like RC's and Pristini together.
mhm.
And I know they grew up poor. I remember can't remember what video it was, but it was during their first event that they were traveling to. I think their car broke down or something like that. I don't remember how they got to the event, but I don't know. It was I want to say a family member I think picked them up after the car broke down. Then shouted them to their first event. Like, oh god, I don't remember what game it was. World War II, I think.
Probably would have been
Would have been
around.
would have been
Then.
Infinite Warfare.
Oh, there you go.
IW.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. Or if we're talking first event, it would have been BO3.
hmm
Yeah.
I miss RC's man. I wish he was doing all of his. He was
I
such
hope
a
he.
great
I hope
guy.
he has a good comeback this year. I really
I
do.
do
But
too. I
RC's
I
is
want
one
to
of my
do really
favorite
well.
players.
I want RCs to do really, really well, but I just don't think that Seattle team is set up for success. I think that team is extremely inconsistent aside from Abusa. We'll see how he ends up doing on a
right.
sub versus an AR if that's actually what's going to end up happening, assuming that. But I think the rest of the guys on the team are really, really hot or cold. I think they're all going to be able to like hit their stride and maybe place like T3 at one, maybe two events, but there's going to be no consistency.
I feel like we're gonna get literally the same Seattle team we've had. Like, except for
Yeah.
instead of having like two players play absolutely abysmal every single event, you're gonna have like like in a couple, like basically what you just said, you're gonna have like one or two events where like everyone's like hitting, just like that Seattle team had every once in a while, where you'd have like an event where like everyone except for one person was like getting like a 1.0 or higher KD wise, and they were actually playing the game right and everything, and they would like go and get like T3, T2, maybe win an event, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Mm.
Like, we basically just have a new version of the exact same team we had before. Just like instead of having like a hard carry like Pred, you just have the skill like drawn out over the whole team. I'll be honest. I think the podcast's hitting about that time.
I think it is hitting that time.
I think it
You
is
guys
hitting
want
that
to do the
time.
immaculate grids?
Well, I think we've like, I don't know. We definitely can.
Want to do one?
Let's do
We can
one.
do one. See if we can get it done.
Oh, you got the easy one. That's better.
This one's better.
So who wants to try to snag the first square?
Is that Neptune? Yeah, that's Neptune
Mm-hmm.
for a lag in Florida.
Shout out Neptune.
Florida and FaZe.
Florida and Major Maniac.
That's
Yep.
right. Yeah.
Yep. Maniac.
Florida and over a 1.0 KD in the 2023 season. Was his name Big Wake for 50?
Wake. Yeah, that's easy.
I mean, he's the only stat. I mean, what?
Wait.
And then what?
Oh yeah. Wait.
And then
Is it someone who played on Florida
on
and had
Florida
a
for
1.0 season?
2023, then it would
Or
have
is
to
it
be like
on Florida?
Brack, right?
They played on Florida and had they played on Florida and also had a 1.0 KD.
Oh yeah.
But like,
it has to be the same year.
for that season or in general?
It has to be
In
on
general.
that team. Well, that's how Immaculate Grid is usually played. It has to be on that team.
That year.
But I mean, we can do it however.
No, but are you saying like that year of the stat?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Then
Okay,
it had to be
It
so-
could
Brack.
have been Florida.
Yeah, it
that
would have to be
2020.
Brack is probably the only one, right? Or maybe Cap towards
Yeah.
the end of the year.
But so Seattle, LAG. I want to say
Seattle and lag. RC's doesn't count.
was accuracy on LAG at one point?
Yeah,
Maybe.
wasn't he with no, I'm thinking of Slasher.
No, he was on Rocker. He was on a Rocker before.
Right.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So Seattle and Lag. Why is it so I feel like we're gonna figure out who it is, and it's gonna be like, oh,
Seattle and LEG.
Apathy?
App? I don't think App was on
Because
Seattle.
didn't Apathy follow? No, Apathy started on Surge,
So
but I
yeah,
don't know if
then
he made
Apathy
his.
then.
I don't know if he made his way to Lag.
then he
Because
retired
he was on
from
LEG
Surge.
in Cold War.
Oh
Apathy
yeah,
was?
that's right. Yeah, Apathy was
Mm.
because he was with
Then
like
it
Assault
would
and
be
them, right?
Apathy.
Yeah.
And it would be Apathy.
And
Rocker
then
and
of course the middle
LAG.
square is classic. Same.
Oh,
That one's
yeah.
easy. Yeah.
We do classic. Shout out classic.
Seattle and a 1.0 overall.
Fred.
Fred.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little too
I don't
easy there.
know. Mackenzie.
I don't know.
I'm just kidding. That'd be funny.
Lag and
LEG and
Rocker.
Rocker.
Assault? Was Assault on Rocker at one point?
Yes.
Lag and rock.
MW19.
No, I want to say Assault was only on
Yeah.
Lag.
Yeah.
He was on Rocker?
Yeah, they're in MW19.
Okay.
We do God RX
I
technically.
I thought he was part of that original roster.
Major
If we
Maniac
count
again.
academy teams, can we do God RX?
I was gonna say Major Maniac again for
Major
Rocker
Maniac.
Fizz.
Yeah, I mean we could do Major Maniac.
Oh,
Or-
can't do it again. Can't do it again.
Priesta.
Rocker. Yep. Okay,
Yep,
there you go.
Priesta. There you go.
That's a good one. And then Rocker over 1.0 attach.
Yeah.
Yeah, Attach was a kill whore.
Who
Huh?
else could have possibly got over a 1.0
Was a
on
kill whore.
that team? Oh man, it definitely wasn't Afro. Shout out Afro. He was gunning at one point in
Oh,
time, but
no.
then he just started having a little inconsistency, and then they just immediately were like, "Get out of here!" Like
Wait, scroll down. Let's see what Jacob Hale had.
Benjamin Bonds.
Vivid. That's right.
Vivid, yep.
Steeny, Drac, yeah.
Christine.
Sib.
Yeah, Sid was a space sub.
Well, wait, Afro was over a 1.0 for Minnesota.
That's surprising.
All from the Boston event. That was the only event I remember him popping off from. He probably did really well in online matches then, right?
So we got.
I
Like,
just remember
1, 2,
after
3.
Boston, he became really inconsistent. Like he
Yeah, like-
wasn't bad, he just became inconsistent, so they just replaced him because of that. I think he's going to be great on Thieves this year, for the record. I think he's gonna be awesome. That dude is a stud. Want to know why he's a stud? Because he loves big booty Latinos.
Oh my gosh.
See.
He said it himself.
Dude, I always think those kind of videos are cringy. I never like them, but
Oh man, dude, when that came
that
out,
was funny.
I remember when that came out. I remember just being like, "What? Like that's so
Mhm.
random." Okay, Maddie, it's okay. Okay, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? I know. Okay, okay. It is Afro. I know. Man, I love that Thieves roster is gonna be so much fun this year, content wise. I tell you what, it's gonna be awesome. Joe Devious, Cammy. Man.
Deceives.
I know.
Deceives.
Joe Devious.
We gotta figure it out.
I mean, that's probably it for us, right?
That's gotta be it. I ain't got nothing left.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks
Babe.
for coming to another episode of the Pood. We're gonna be back probably next month with another one, so stay tuned for that. Remember, catch us weekly here for weekly podcast episodes on a monthly basis. Sayonara.